All right, how to start the R44 Raven 1 helicopter. All going to start with our before starting checklist, making sure all of our controls are free of any restrictions and all of our switches are in the right positions prior to actually turning anything on. So number one, our key is in ignition. Make sure that's set to off. Seatbelts are fastened. Mine's good. Front passenger good. Both of our back seats are fastened. Our fuel shutoff valve is turned on. This is at the base of the collective control. Next is turning off our cyclic and collective friction. The cyclic friction is up here by the cyclic. Collective is at the base of the collective. We slide that one forward. And we're basically going to move the cyclic in a huge circle, making sure that's nothing is restricting that range of motion. Same with our collective. We're going to raise it all the way up, make sure nothing blocks it, and then all the way back down. Also going to check the pedals, move it all the way left, all the way right, making sure that those have their full range of motion. And same with our throttle control on the front of the collective here. It should roll all the way on towards the front passenger seat, all the way back towards you as the PIC to the idle stop position, and then even further into the over travel spring, all the way towards you. And you'll feel some resistance with that, so when you release your grip, it'll go back into the idle stop position, which is where we want to leave it. So next up is making sure our collective's full down, friction on. So sliding that friction control back, cyclic is neutral, cyclic friction on, pedals are neutral, and our rotor brake is disengaged. Circuit breakers in. Circuit breakers are all in front of your front passenger seat, so run your hand across those and make sure that they are all actually pushed down. Carb heat off. This is right by your cyclic friction. This knob should be all the way down, and this little metal latch should be holding it in that locked position. Our landing light switch is off. Our PFD, primary flight display switch, is off. And our governor switch is off. Governor switch located at the front of the collective. Should be switched towards your front passenger seat. Clutch switch should also be disengaged. This is up at the front with the red collar. It's important you actually get your finger on this and make sure the switch is pulled back. What can happen is people will leave this flipped on and only flip the red collar back, which leaves the actual switch itself still in the engaged position. So actually make sure it's pulled back and to disengaged. Altimeter set. When we fire up the aircraft and listen to the ATIS, we'll get the actual altimeter setting. But for now, we can set it to what we checked was the altimeter inside before we dispatched our flight. And just kind of set it to field elevation. We'll fine tune it once we get the ATIS. Lastly, our hydraulic switch on the cyclic here is flipped up for on. Next will be starting engine and run up. So the first thing we're doing here is going to put our mixture, our fuel control, all the way down, so full rich, and install the guard. Since this bird hasn't run yet today and it's a little bit chilly outside, we're going to go ahead and twist the throttle control to prime it. So for this bird, we're going to give it about 4 twists. 1, 2, all the way on, 3, 4, and make sure that throttle is closed in that idle stop position. Going to turn our battery switch on. Go ahead and start a timer. Verify our strobe light is on prior to turning anything on and that the area is clear. Go ahead and shut my door. Next is making sure the throttle is in over travel spring, right? We don't want to have the throttle rolled on at all when we go to start the engine, otherwise the RPMs will spike nice and high. So rolling it into the over travel spring. And our ignition switch, just like a car, we're going to turn it to start until the engine fires. As soon as it starts, we're going to release it into the bolt position.
Yankee Papa, contact.
All right, engine has started. Our starter light is out. RPMs 55 to 60. We have oil pressure. Go ahead and turn our alternator switch on. We have positive amps. Raise our carb heat all the way up. Make sure our engine is nice and stable between 55 and 60. And go ahead and engage the clutch. Now at this point, the engine is slowly picking up the weight of the rotor blades. So all we got to do right now is gradually roll the throttle on to keep it between 55 and 60 as it picks up the weight of those blades. So we're really paying attention to our engine and rotor tacks right now. and then they're married up. Keep them between 55 and 60. Go ahead and turn our nav lights on, get our headsets on if not already on, and then turn on our GPS and radios. On, set volume and frequencies. So one of our radios is on by default. Anytime we turn the battery on, that one's good to go. We have another comm stacked right below it. Turn that switch on. Transponder is also on by default. And we can go ahead and turn our primary flight display on as well. So that Aspen power switch. Setting volume and frequencies. We can hear this one comm stack is already talking to us, but you can push the volume button down of any comm stack and it will squelch. So let out this just constant tone, and we can turn the volume up or down to where we want it to be for the rest of our startup. The frequencies we want to put in here are going to be the airport's ATIS, because this is a towered airport. If we were at an uncontrolled field, we'd tune in the AWOS or ASOS frequency. So for Duluth, our ATIS is 124.1. We have that down in COM 2. We also want to have Duluth ground, Duluth tower, and Duluth approach. So we have our weather, a way to get to the runway, a way to get cleared to take off, and somebody watching over us as we exit the airspace if needed. So once our volumes are set and frequencies are good to go, we're going to go ahead and obtain the weather. So this is going to be on our ATIS frequency, and what's nice is that ForeFlight has a built-in scratch pad feature for us to etch down the weather on. So before we even turn the frequency on, we're going to make sure we have that scratch pad open, monitor the ATIS frequency,
Duluth International Airport information Alpha 16072 with special observation, wind 240 at 9er, visibility 5, mist, ceiling 1000 overcast, temperature 17, 2.15, altimeter 2996, ILS runway 27 approaching east, aircraft use caution for birds in the immediate vicinity of Duluth Airport, no determined, ILS runway 27 under mark route service, runway 321 closed, taxi Alpha between midfield ramp West San Monaco closed, taxi Alpha 3 closed, taxi Alpha between Alpha 2 and midfield ramp closed except
just
for
listening to our NOTAMs, getting all that weather down, just get the winds, got the viz, the information letter.
45, advising us contact you have Alpha.
And now we have our ATIS. Got our updated altimeter setting, 29.96. Perfect. Transponder, appropriate code for our helicopter. We are Helix 1. Our code is... That's generally going to be posted on a little sticker on the panel somewhere in each of our aircraft. Wait for clutch light. Clutch light is out, as we can see up at the top left. And we're going to go ahead and warm up our RPM to 65%. Next is going to be limiting our manifold pressure, which is up above us here. We're going to see our temperature based off of our ATIS and our pressure altitude, and see that our manifold pressure limit today is right about 23.4 for max continuous, 25 inches for our max takeoff power. Next is our cyclic hydraulic check. So we're going to go ahead, making sure we're holding the cyclic, turn the friction off, turn the hydraulics off, and make a small X pattern. Now with the hydraulics off, this should feel pretty rough, except for about a half inch of free play. But it's going to feel pretty rough in the X pattern. When you turn the hydraulics on, that X pattern should feel nice and smooth. So our hydraulics are working. We can turn the friction back on and go to the next check. Engine gauges in the green. So that's going to be our oil pressure, oil temperature, cylinder head temperature green. So we're satisfied with that. And going to go ahead and do our mag drop checks at 75% RPM. So keeping our hands on the controls, going to roll the throttle on towards 75%. And we're going to check each of our magnetos, our right and our left. So when I flip the key 2 clicks to the left, we should see a slight RPM drop, no more than 7%, holding it there for a couple seconds before returning back to both. So from both to right, 1, 2, a little bit of an RPM drop, back to both. We should see that RPM come back on its own just a titch. And we'll do the same thing for the left mag. Left, 1, 2, back to both. Throttle drops and comes back up on its own. Next is our carb heat check. When we lower the carb heat, which is down by the cyclic, we should see our carb temperature go down and our performance on our tachometers slightly increase. So lowering that carb heat, we can see the temperature dropping and our tax slightly increasing. Raising that carb heat back up, we should see our carb temperature start to warm back up and our performance get a little bit worse on the tacks. Last is our spray clutch check at 75% RPM. This is to make sure that our spray clutch is working, and if the engine were to cut out for some reason, the rotor RPM will stay up and the engine will only drop out. So the way we do this is on a countdown from 3, be smoothly but quickly rolling the throttle off. So spray clutch in 3, 2, 1, rolling off. We see the needle split. That's what we want to see. And then we'll let our RPM rest at 65%. Next up, caging our attitude indicator. Our primary flight displayless Aspen automatically cages for us, but we have a backup here. So our attitude indicator is set. Our Aspen, we go ahead and set our directional gyro, so making sure the heading of our Aspen matches with our compass. Before we go ahead and roll up to 100%, making sure the doors are closed and latched. So check your latch, push on the top of your door a bit, make sure it doesn't pop out. Same with the front passenger door, and visually checking your passenger rear doors. And at this point, we're ready to roll up to 100%. So taking off our cyclic friction, got our hand on the cyclic, slide that collective friction off, turn our governor on, and slowly roll the throttle on to 80%. And at 80%, the governor is going to roll up to 100 for us. So we're going to kind of just hover our hand around that throttle control to make sure it doesn't go too quickly or uncontrollably. There it grabs, up to 100%. And making sure it settles at 101 to 102. We have no warning lights, nothing indicated there. Now we're going to check that our low rotor horn and light work appropriately. So we're going to roll the throttle down to 97%, raise the collective very slightly, and we should see the light come on our instrument panel as well as hear the low rotor horn. So collective's all the way down. I'm rolling the throttle off to 97, little collective raise, roll down, let it roll back up. Got our indications as appropriate. And before we're ready to take off, we'll do our last hydraulic control check. So a little bit of aft and forward cyclic, making sure that there's no resistance in that movement. And then we're ready to fly. Now our shutdown procedure. When you land the aircraft, your hands are on the controls. We're spun up to 100%. You don't want to go messing around and pull out your shutdown checklist, letting go of the controls. So the first thing is going to be rolling the throttle down from 100%, right? You don't want to be flying anymore. Next up, you don't want the governor to take it back to 100%. So we're going to turn the governor off. And then we want to use our hands, right? So you slide your left hand back on the collective, turning the friction on. You now have your left hand free to reach forward, turn the cyclic friction off, and down and lock our carb heat. And at this point, you can pull open your shutdown procedure checklist, where it'll tell us to bring our RPMs back up to 65%. We're going to wait 5 minutes. Alright, so the engine has cooled down and we're ready to turn everything off. So our throttle, which is slightly rolled on now, keeping the RPMs at 65%, we're going to roll off into the idle stop position, disengage our clutch, and wait 30 seconds. So when this says 48 seconds, after that point, we will pull the fuel mixture off. 2, 1. Took our guard off, pulling the mixture off, taking the fuel out of the system. We'll install that mixture guard again. We'll turn off our navigation lights, our alternator, our key, as well as our PFD, and our radios. Now after about 30 seconds, if not less, our clutch will be disengaged and our clutch light will go out, meaning that the belts are loose. After that point, we'll wait for the blades to slow down, making sure nobody is around or near the tail rotor, so we can go ahead and turn our battery off, meaning the strobe light at the back will turn off.